Hey guys, Maine might not be right for you. We're going to talk about some things that aren't so great about Maine, like if you love big cities, Maine might not be right for you. If you don't like some harsh winters, Maine might not be right for you. So we're going to talk about a few things that aren't so great about Maine. Let's do this. All right, guys. Hey, this is Doug Schauf with the Make Maine Your Home team over at Remax Oceanside. Like I said, Maine might not be the right fit for you. We really want to be upfront and honest about, some things here in Maine that might not work for you. And it might kind of sway you. Like if you're thinking of moving here to Maine, you might just be like, no, you know what? I just can't deal with that. And we want to be honest with you because I'd hate to have you come here and then find out like, oh man, that sucks. I'm out of here. So we're going to jump in and talk about a few things that aren't so great. First thing we want to talk about, the weather extremes and the seasonal changes. We can have some very harsh winters, depending on where you are in Maine. On the coast, it gets different. It gets a little more like ice storm, things like that. As you get inland, we get a lot of snow. As you get further north, you get even more snow and cold, especially way up north. It can be very, very cold. So if that's not your thing, if you're not prepared for that, if you haven't seen winter yet, I would recommend maybe visiting here first before you make the jump into moving here. Summer has, heat waves, things like that, but not too bad as far as the heat in the summer. But honestly, like springtime and sometimes fall, like we kind of get very like a mud season, they call it, where it gets very wet and muddy as the snow melts and things like that. You get mud season, and it's just, something to be mindful of and aware of, if you're thinking of making a move here to Maine. Number two, we got limited job opportunities and economic factors. There are some industries here, but most of Maine relies on the tourism industry. As you know, that can fluctuate a lot. That's really the big industry. Yes, we are seeing a lot of people like in software and stuff able to move here and work from home. But that's not like industry. That's a little different. But when you're talking about a ton of job opportunities here, it is limited, to what you're going to be able to do. Tourism is big. There still is like, lobstermen, fishermen, that is here. It's limited as far as the job opportunities that you're going to be able to find here if you're looking to come here. So we wanted to be honest with you about that. And, there are some challenges around that, of course, and especially looking at income levels and stuff like that you need to achieve to be able to live here. So you want to be mindful of your job opportunities that might be limited coming here to Maine. Let's see, remote locations and accessibility. We get this a lot when people want to move to areas, but be close to facilities. Like if you need any medical attention, things like that, there are a lot of remote areas in Maine where you're going to need to be mindful of. And if that's not your cup of tea, you're going to want to know about it. You're not going to want to find out about when you get here. Now, granted, the Portland area and things like that gives you access to those facilities, but still, you're going to want to be mindful of like where you're moving to and how remote it is. And it can be very remote, especially when you go up north. There's a lot of trees up there. So you're going to want to know about that. So next thing we're going to talk about is interesting to me. It kind of goes with like the first one, the winter, the winter weather and the weather extremes. But in the long winters that we have here in Maine, a lot of people suffer from SAD. It's seasonal affective disorder, basically depression and anxiety that comes in the winter months because it's so long and it's dark and gloomy, so to speak. It ends up becoming a problem for a lot of people. And if that's something that might happen to you, if that's in your personality, and you don't like those types of long winter months, you're going to want to know that and be very mindful of seasonal affective disorder. It's a real thing, and you just want to know about it. Last but not least, wildlife and pest challenges. Mostly I'm going to talk about like the bugs that are here and all that stuff. We do have, ticks are a big conversation in Maine. There's a lot of ticks, which can give you Lyme disease. So it's a big deal to be very mindful of the ticks. There's a lot of mosquitoes because there's a lot of water here. We have a lot of great groundwater. And of course, the ocean and lakes and things like that are all here. So there's a lot of mosquitoes, of course. If you're not a fan of being around mosquitoes, you're going to want to know that. And black flies. If you're not familiar with black flies, you might want to do the old Google and check those out. So it's the season like coming out of winter, and typically they're around until mid-June, right around Father's Day-ish. They're these little tiny black flies. They do bite, and they can sting a little bit, and they come in swarms. If you're in the Maine woods, during those time periods, black flies are a big deal. People wear nets sometimes. My father used to just have a big old stogie hanging out of his mouth all the time when we go fishing or something like that, just to help have the smoke keep the black flies away. But they can be bad. So I want you to be mindful of that. Hopefully this helps. There's a few things that aren't so great about Maine. As much as we love it, we wanted to make sure that we gave you all this information. So if you have any questions or comments, comment below, hit us up on social media. And remember, If you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and one of these buttons over here. You get a lot of great information about real estate, the state of Maine, cool things to do, all that kind of stuff. And of course, if you have any questions at any time, comment below or hit us up on all social media platforms and we'd love to help you out. And we love talking about Maine and real estate in Maine.